Hello, math students. Welcome back to Module 4, Expressions and Equations. This is Lesson 2, and it is called Exponents. Today, we will learn the difference between 3x and x to the third. The question that I want you to think about is, what is an exponent and when do you use it? All right, things to know. And this is one of my favorite lessons, so hopefully you guys will like it too by the time we are done working on it. What you see right here is what we call a power. And what a power is it tells mathematicians when they see it that they have a base that is being raised to a certain power, and the certain power is the exponent. Okay? So what I would like to do is I would like to identify all the parts that you see so that you know what this is when you see it. This number right here is a very large number 5. And when we see it written in regular everyday math problems, it looks like a normal-sized 5. The reason why I made it so big, however, is that I need you to know that the big number written in this grouping is always known as the base. Okay? And what the base does is it tells you the original number that is being multiplied. So when you write out the numbers, you are going to write 5. Then what you do with that 5 is you multiply it by itself based on the exponent. And the little number that sits right next to the base, usually up in the air, close to the top of the number, is called the exponent. So this right here is an exponent. Okay? And the exponent's job is the little number that tells how many times the base is multiplied by itself. So this is the base, 5, and the exponent is 8. So this is telling us that we have to take 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, times 5. And the reason why we have to do it 8 times is because the exponent says that you have to do it 8 times. So the exponent tells you that you take the base, multiply it by itself 8 times. Okay? And so that's the exponent's job. Now, this whole thing, if you look at it as a big picture, this whole thing written out like this is called a power. Okay? And a power is the base and the exponent written together. So if Mrs. Nelson ever says, okay, boys and girls, I would like you to write the power 7 to the power of 2, then you would have 7 as your base and 2 as your exponent. And you would write it a 7 and a little 2. That's called a power. Okay? So the big number is the base, and that's the number being multiplied by itself. The little number is called an exponent, and the exponent tells you how many times the base is multiplied by itself, and this whole thing together is called a power. Okay? So that's kind of good information for you to know. All right, it says, if you raise a fraction or a decimal to a certain power, which you are going to have to because that is the 6th grade standard, you must write parentheses around them. This is really, really, really important. So if your base is a fraction or if your base is a negative number, then you have to put parentheses around it so that the mathematician who is trying to understand your expression has the correct information that they need. Okay? An example of this is right here. So if your base is a negative 1, notice there are parentheses around the negative 1, and it's raised to the 2nd power. If your base is a fraction, this is a negative fraction, so even more so are the parentheses important, you would take negative 1/8 times 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 negative 1/8 because the exponent says 6. Okay? Also, if it's written as a decimal, you have to put the parentheses first, and that means that you would write 0 and 83 hundredths times 0 and 83 hundredths times 0 and 83 hundredths because the exponent says 3. So you will notice that when it's just a power of a whole number, all you have to do is write the base and the exponent right next to it. Still, again, a whole number, you write the base and the exponent right next to it. A negative, you have to put parentheses first and then the exponent. A negative fraction, or any fraction, parentheses and then the exponent. And then if it's a decimal, write the entire decimal number inside the parentheses and the exponent right out to the side of it. Okay? So, the important thing to remember about this lesson is what is the exponent's job. The exponent's job tells how many times the base is multiplied by itself. So if we look at this one right here, we see 2 raised to the third power. Another way to read this would be 2 cubed. That's how it's also read. And to expand it out, you would do 2 times 2 times 2. Because the base is 2, the exponent is 3. So that means I have to take 2 times itself 3 times. This one, this power right here, what it means is the base is 8, and I have to multiply it by itself 5 times. So I go 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. That's what that one equals. Okay? The next one says -1 raised to the power of 2, or you can say -1 squared. So -1 squared looks like this. You would go -1 times -1. And that would be how you represent that in expanded form. And then you have this one, which is -1/8 raised to the power of 6. So you would write -1/8 times -1/8 times -1/8 times -1/8 times -1/8 times -1/8. And this right here represents that power. Okay? And then the last one that you see up there is we have 0 and 83 hundredths. So this one means that you're taking 0 and 83 hundredths times 0 and 83 hundredths times 0 and 83 hundredths. And that's what this one looks like being expanded out because the exponent says 3. So you have to multiply it by itself 3 times. Okay? So that's what an exponent is. The exponent is usually a number written small next to the base, and its job tells you how many times the base is multiplied by itself. Okay? So, going back for our goal today we will learn the difference between 3x and x to the third. Okay, I need to address that one specifically because we did all of our power problems down here. But when we see this, 3x, what that means is I have 3 x's. So that means I'm taking x plus x plus x. That's what it means because I have 3 x's. So when you see an expression like this, it's telling you to add them together because that's what you have. I have a pile of x's. In the pile, there happens to be 3 of them. So I have x plus x plus x. That's what that one means. If you have this one, however, this one is saying, oh, this one's different because this means that I have a base of x and I'm supposed to multiply it by itself 3 times because this is the exponent 3. So do you see the difference between those two? 3x means I have 3 x's. So add them together, 3 x's. X to the third power or x cubed means that I'm taking x and multiplying it by itself 3 times. So hopefully now you understand the difference between those two different expressions. Question, what is an exponent and when do you use it? An exponent is a value that tells you how many times a base is multiplied by itself, and usually we use it when we're working with numbers that are very, very large or very, very small. Okay? All right, kiddos, that's all I have for you today in this lesson. Talk to you soon. Bye!